At 20% body fat, I was frustrated, doing more workouts, more cardio, and trying to eat cleaner, but my belly wasn't getting leaner. So I made 3 crucial shifts that seemed too simple to actually work, but they changed my entire physique, where I eventually settled around 11% body fat year round, while training less, eating more of the right foods, and actually enjoying my life. It became like second nature. So if you're a busy guy and you're sick of being stuck above 20% body fat doing hardcore workouts or extreme diets, let me show you what I changed to get and stay lean, starting with the hardest shift I had to make. If I saw someone who was ripped, I assumed they were training every day and doing cardio on top of that. So I pushed myself to do 5 workouts a week while juggling work stress, late nights, and zero energy, yet I was still stuck. But once I actually learned how fat loss and nutrition work together, I discovered how wrong I was about what I was actually eating. It's called calorie creep, and it adds up fast. For example, that extra drizzle of olive oil could be 120 or more calories. A quick handful of nuts could be 200 calories. A super healthy smoothie could hit as far as 700 calories depending on what you put in it. A couple of slices of cheese could be 100 to 150 calories. Adding butter to toast or multiple pieces of toast could be 120 or more calories. A small little bag of crisps could be 250 calories. See, I thought because I was working out so much and eating clean that I would be getting leaner, but I didn't. I later realized that I was overeating clean food and worse, underestimating the unhealthy food that I was eating. Now, studies have shown that people can underestimate their calorie intake as much as up to 50%, even when they're trying to eat healthy food. So it's a very common error that even I had to learn the hard way. Nothing to feel bad about. However, instead of training harder and harder, here's a few simple shifts that I made to fix this. I swapped out the nut butters, the oils, and processed carbs for leaner proteins and higher volume vegetables. I doubled down on my servings of greens at lunch and dinner to bulk out the meal, very low calorie spend. I used fasting if I had big meals coming up or had accidentally or even deliberately overate a day prior. I used a food scale until I knew exactly what the right portions were. I learned to read food labels, which is actually very easy to do, but I never learned this in school or from anywhere else. And I pre-tracked my meals inside of MyFitnessPal, which is a very easy app to use, the night before or during the day as I was going through my meals. And then suddenly, fat loss became predictable and sustainable for me. And that was without doing all the extra cardio that I thought everyone else was doing because they were ripped. But the problem was the harder I trained, the hungrier I got, which made me eat more, often without realizing, and canceling out the extra effort that I was putting in. Not to mention the time spent doing all the extra workouts and cardio. But that doesn't mean that I cut out every food that I like. I just made it fit within the budget that I knew would keep me in a fat loss mode. Whether that's the burger, once a week here and there, or a couple of slices of Lindt dark chocolate every day, which I absolutely love. And doing this without feeling guilty and without guessing and assuming that because I've been healthy that it's okay. I actually knew my numbers. But I was still worried that if I was training less and not doing 5 workouts a week, that I was going to lose muscle. That didn't turn out to be true, and I'm going to show you why. So after fixing my diet and cutting out hidden calories for more filling and quality foods, I still thought I had to earn fat loss by doing more workouts and cardio. So there was a period of time I was training 5 to 6 days a week, and it became like an obsession. I was always sore, always tired, limping around. My arms hurt to lift up things. Walking up and down stairs was, tender and jittery for my legs. However, I wasn't actually getting stronger or looking leaner. But then one day I met the most jacked and ripped guy in the gym that I was going to. He was vascular, strong, and had dense muscle around his chest, his back, his arms, and his legs. It was like the exact physique that I'd been trying so hard for so long. And this made me really curious about what he was doing, so I asked him. And he told me he was just doing 3 workouts a week and only the big core lifts. And I was shocked, but I listened. I swallowed my pride and ego and applied exactly what he was doing. No more junk volume, not doing 15 random exercises or 37 sets per workout. Just 3 full body focused sessions a week, including squats, deadlifts, pull-ups, presses, and rows. And within just 2 months, I remember barely being able to bench 80 kilos to pressing 100 kilos without a spotter because every week I was progressing just by 1 or 2 reps. And that's when I realized that more and more training doesn't always equal more results. But better training and more recovery is what led to me building more muscle. And it's the muscle that's going to make your body look and feel great after you lose the body fat. The problem is most guys lose fat way too fast at the cost of also losing their muscle mass, which makes even men in their 30s look just skinny and weak without that V-tapered shape. So prioritizing muscle and strength in a fat loss phase made my muscle pop more once I hit about 15% body fat and below. However, none of this would have actually worked without this third shift that I made, which kept my fat loss compounding even when the scale looked like it was in a plateau that was never going to budge. So when I was stuck at about 20% or above body fat, I used to weigh myself maybe once a week, and I would freak out anytime the number went up or stayed the same. But no one tells you that the scale can fluctuate 2 to 4 pounds just in one day, which is about 1 to 2 kilos. Completely normal. And it can be from a number of things such as eating more carbs, which may lead to holding more glycogen and water in the muscles. Eating a high salty sodium meal, which can also lead to more water retention. Having a really bad poor sleep where the body doesn't regulate itself, could be inflammation from a tough workout, stress, sunburn, and illness, or even just doing a heaps of cardio on a Sunday around the house or a hike. It can be from eating late meals at nighttime or having gut issues, or something as simple as not going to the bathroom as often or having constipation. Now, one thing that always catches people off guard is creatine, because I've seen clients gain 4 to 5 pounds in less than 2 weeks from starting creatine. So even when I was getting leaner, the scale still made me want to quit. But once I started tracking my biofeedback data, everything changed, and I'll show you how I did that. Doing this helped me see the full picture, and here's what I tracked. I tracked photos at least every 2 to 3 weeks because I could see changes that the scale wasn't showing me. I tracked my strength and my progress in every single workout, every set, every rep, every weight I lifted, and that way I never went backwards and I couldn't talk myself out of it and trick myself to doing less. I tested all different types of sleep protocols until I got a regular routine that was getting me to have consistent deep and consistent REM sleep. That also meant not eating and drinking too late, and definitely not drinking alcohol close to bed. I started focusing on my daily calorie burn, the total burn for the whole day, not just steps, because steps can fluctuate quite a lot, but daily calorie burn is a more consistent number. And I learned how to be much more accurate with my food. I learned how to spot the calorie creep and track realistic portions that were going to fill me up and keep me within my budget that kept me in a fat loss mode. I get that it sounds like a lot, but after 2 or 3 weeks of regularly tracking your biofeedback data, it will become second nature. And as a result of doing this, my workouts were progressing every week. My physique was starting to change in ways that I had always dreamed of. And I was actually building more muscle while losing fat because I was tapping into muscle gains that I'd never made before. And therefore, the more fat I dropped, the more definition was coming through. And then when people would give me their expert opinions, I could easily ignore it because I knew the exact formula that was already working for me. So it didn't matter what anybody else said. I wasn't guessing. I wasn't hoping and praying and dreaming and wishing. I simply had the proof of here is what works for me, given my current lifestyle. And at the end of the day, the mirror does the talking. Some stupid gimmick advice that somebody learned from their cousin's best mate's uncle once upon a time. And also, if I did hit a plateau, I stopped panicking because I could see exactly why it was there. So this shift to tracking biofeedback data gave me back all the control I needed over my body and my appearance and how I felt. And it felt like I was the one finally steering the ship of my body. So the key lesson is that I started doing less to get more results. And that's when everything changed. And I see a lot of busy guys trying to do more workouts, more starvation, and more sacrifice, only to fall off the wagon and then beat themselves up over it for months until they restart again. But if you just followed a smarter, step-by-step approach, like cutting your workouts down to the effective foundations and always progressing, following my 90-10 nutrition rule, and dialing in your biofeedback data and your progressions over time, you would start seeing results within weeks or less, because you just need a system that keeps your body in a fat loss mode, no matter how hectic, busy, life or work gets. And that is exactly why I built my business body blueprint, specifically for men over 30 who are working as much as 50 plus hours with a wife and with kids and are frustrated that no matter what they do, the belly just isn't going and they can't break below that 20% body fat consistently. So to see how the blueprint works, just tap the link right below this video and there's a whole bunch of information on how it works and how it gets my clients six-pack lean. And then once you've done that, go watch this video next where I break down the 5 fat loss mistakes keeping men stuck over 20% body fat and how to fix them. Go watch this next after you've checked out the body blueprint routine.